Okay, now I'm recording.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendra. I'm going to go through my slides that I did not share with everyone, but we'll be kind of going through them. So first of all, I want to popcorn. Does anyone know what OPS does in mutual aid? Jake.
Gets shit done. No one knows what though.
What else?
Should I pass it to someone?
Yeah, pass it.
John.
So when I think operations, I think surgery. So I'm going to say you're a surgeon.
Surgeon? Okay. Sarah.
Gets tagged in Airtable so much. Coordinate everything? Question mark? Anything?
Yep, so Sarah's one of the leads on the ops team, and just as she says, we kind of get tags into most everything. So we move shit. We move food, we move supplies, we move furniture, we move basically everything. I mean, the weirdest request is a toilet. The most nice request is probably like toys. So from toys to furniture to food, we get stuff from the place that it, from someone who has it to someone who needs it, and all over the network. So kind of the purpose of ops is to share resources across the organization and to make sure that we don't recreate the systems of oppression that we're trying to break in the first place. And so, as many of us know, being pod leaders, me as a former pod leader, being from a pretty well-resourced pod in Shaw, there are some pods that have a lot of resources and other pods that have very little resources. So it's important to make sure that we don't, keep those resources within our pods, but that we, share the wealth and the resources across the organization. So first step in kind of getting people stuff. So I kind of view it as like a tripod. So first you have to determine the needs, then you have to find a source, and then you have to match needs with the donations. So how do we determine needs? Anyone?
People ask for them?
Yeah, you ask the people, right? So it's pretty simple. You don't tell people what they need, you ask them. So when you're looking at what a neighborhood needs, what an entity needs, what a person needs, you ask them directly. And so there's no other way to find out what somebody needs unless you ask them. It's really important when working and doing mutual aid work to acknowledge that there are established entities that are existing in these spaces and not walking in to say like, we know what you need now, we're here to help you. That's not the vibe we're going for, and it's not why we do this work. It's not why I do this work. It's important if that comes up for you to check that complex and Google saviorism and do work outside of this, and feel free to reach out to me if you want to. If that comes up for you. But it's important to make sure that that's not the intent in the work that we do, and it's not the energy that we're bringing to people. And if there are established entities like a Red Circle up north, they are the leader of their zone. They are the ones who determine the need, and we just support with resources. So it's really important to make sure that if there are established entities in your neighborhood pod areas, that can take the lead of those pods to understand the needs of your community more deeply, especially organizations that have existed for a long time and are doing work that align with ours. And then next step is to find sources. So what kind of things do people need? So let's do that first. So what kind of things do people ask for in your pod? Let's popcorn first to Joshua. What do people ask for in your pod?
So I guess like whenever I've made calls to people, like obviously first and foremost is just kind of the basic needs, right? So you got food, shelter, clothing. Those are kind of like the top three. So yeah, I mean obviously beyond that you get your sort of the sort of very, very niche sort of needs, but yeah, I just go basic needs first.
What else do people need? Do you want popcorn to someone, Joshua?
Sure. John.
So I think the need that I get the most is financial assistance or financial solidarity is what I see a lot.
Can you popcorn Aaliyah?
Sure. So I kind of get a hodgepodge from everyone. So the most recent that I had was to give someone a ride to the hospital for a doctor's appointment. And then I will skip to Emmeline.
So yeah, I'm like eating. I would say, yeah, the most stuff that I get requested are, it's food typically. Yes, financial solidarity requests definitely, but food and then I'm like toilet paper, toiletries, like that. Oh, and everyone wants bleach and Lysol. Yeah.
Okay, so let's stop there for a second. So, I heard some things that are kind of like things that we can source. So like a ride, like medical support, like financial solidarity. Some of those things we can offer and some of those things we have to refer. And then there's other things that we can find out who sources them and where to get it from. So when we're looking at what we can source, what we can't source, there are entities that may have more long-term support than we're able to offer. However, we may be able to establish systems, outside of the current structure to fill some of the other needs. So like toilet paper, like financial, like food, like even rides maybe. Who has those entities, who, even financial assistance, maybe we can do that long term, who knows? But until we think a little bit outside of that box that we're currently sitting in within a, systems and structures and, industrial complex, it's just different, so, okay. So who has toilet paper, who has food, who has that? This is so, I'm sorry to be like one by one. I know, it's so easy.
I was just talking to Emmeline about this the other day, and I was just like, if Costco and then we're gonna give you a hard time, go to the Family Dollar in the neighborhood, and like they will like let you load up with everything that's on your list. So those have been my like go-tos when I don't have time to deal with the bigger stores.
Yeah. Who else has these things? Food, toilet paper in abundance. Think about it. What about like food banks?
Yeah, Urban League.
Urban League, food banks. Costco has food. Farmers have food in excess. Grocery stores throw away food every single day. Every single day. Panera has food. Who else? What about like Instacart? Anyone else? So, anyone else think of anybody else who has food? Food, supplies, toiletries.
Sarah said restaurants.
Restaurants, absolutely. So kind of finding sources is another one. So if you're kind of understanding, like I've been asking, I know Emmeline, I was like, send me your receipts. I want to know what you're buying. And I want to know what she's buying, because if I can get together like kind of a knowledge of what we're buying across the platform, we can look at direct sourcing all of it for a discounted price. So sometimes, if you're designated as food pantry, you can get, food for 25 cents in some regards like it. And so it's important to understand, like as an organization, how much money we're spending at grocery stores, because maybe we can bulk purchase from an entity in the future to meet some of those needs at a discounted price. And then we can also feed a lot more people and continue to work these systems. So and then you ask. So I know it seems really, really simple step by step, but it's you ask for what you need. So you can find a system. If somebody says that they have if that somebody has something, I know that Ruler has food. I know that this entity has food. And some people, one thing that I've been learning a lot is that, there's some people you just want to, maybe you ask and you still don't want to say yes, or maybe it's not the kind of relationship that you want. So somebody needs we'll take money, we'll take food, but if somebody needs a certain thing, they have to align with our values. And so, I have a firm rule about not taking, or being in partnership with people that don't align with the values or kind of the values of the organization that we're trying to represent. So there are people that have offered us food and resources in abundance within this mutual aid process that we said no to because they were a firm no in terms of values. And there's also people that we're currently partnered with that are just like, here, take food, and they don't need anything else from us. They're just wanting to feed people. And so I think it's really important to make sure that when you're asking for things, it's okay for you to acknowledge that you can pull out too, and that it's just making an ask. And so when you make an ask to an entity or even like a local business, the reason why it's great to get free food is because then you can spend at businesses that align with our values, especially as an organization. So if we're going to, get food in bulk from a certain entity and have that food available, then we can spend our money in an organization that we agree with their values in mass. And so we then have collective buying power, collective bargaining power, all of the above over time. And so that's really cool in terms of like building our platform and building, food security. I mean, so people in the city don't have to be in food deserts and, have fresh food available to them. Okay, so I'm gonna pass really quick to Sarah to do some tips about driving. Sarah has been on our ops team for a very long time. I call her the lead, but I don't know if she knows that she's a lead yet. But yeah, she's on the leadership team for operations and is a trusted friend. And so she's going to share some things that she's learned from doing a ton of deliveries. So over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Kendra. I guess I remember from a few weeks ago when Leah shared a frustrating experience about driving. So that has definitely stayed with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I guess this can actually be really frustrating. Like, you're right. I guess like maybe one thing I'd add in terms of like asking people for what they need is like, and this is just like something that you gauge in the moment, or that I gauge in the moment, is also like invite want and like invite abundance. Like I feel like people's impulses, especially if they're poor and working class or Black or belonging to like any number of like marginalized identities, have a tendency to skew so sort of austere that they're not like sort of inviting the full dignity of their self and their needs in a really expansive sense, and are really more are engaging in this way where they feel that they're being asked to ask for as little as possible, as though like care or resources are scarce. And I guess like an important tenet of mutual aid to me is that we're building like relationships that honor the full dignity of ourselves and our communities. And so if you're like putting on like that exchange is not as honest and not as possible, and things aren't scarce, so we should stop living as though under that illusion. I only have like a few tips, and I can actually copy and paste them to the notes, so that you don't have to take notes since they're just in another Google Doc. You can reformat them or whatever. The first one is map out addresses in the order that makes the most sense. I didn't do that initially, and then was like, oh my gosh, like Sam Cathedral, like what a Catholic city. And then was like, no bitch, like you just drove like north and then south and then north again. Like you are back in Shaw after like going to like U City, like you didn't have to do this to yourself. And be sure to include your endpoint in your navigation. So if you're not going back home at the end, include that too, because it could affect the route that makes the most sense. I use Google Maps and just alter it manually. Apparently MapQuest also does this, but their app really sucks. So if you don't do it before leaving your house, and like at that point you have to have a printer, which is just like, wow, wealth, then I recommend Google Maps. It's not perfect, but it works and it's free. Like have stuff to listen to, like either download an audiobook, I use Libby, or queue up albums, so that you're not like texting while driving. And yeah, I've listened to like a lot of books. It's so dope. Like I'll be like doing all this stuff, and like I've listened to Red at the Bone, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and Sula, and then like sometimes I'll just be like listening to albums. So like listen to like Ungodly Hour by Chloe X Halle, which like I don't know if anyone's heard, but it's just like so good. Like or like I'll listen to like back to back, like, you know, like Lemonade and then like The Gift, and then I'll just be on this whole like tip, you know, like, you can't touch me, and then it's like, oh wait, I have to shift back into like nice neighborly mode, not like I am Beyonce. Like honestly, try not to make plans after driving, especially if it's like multiple drops. I just think it's kind of like unreasonable to expect to have like a reliable like endpoint. But if you do have stuff going on or like to set those sorts of boundaries for yourself, which makes sense, like double the amount of time that you think you'll need. So if you map it out and it says like 60 minutes of active driving, assume that it's going to take you 2 hours. Because
that is no joke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like at least, you know, and it's like, it's also like you'll just have a sense sometimes of like, I don't get good vibes about today. Like, you know, if it's like a holiday weekend, like people might really be dragging. Wait, I feel like I skipped an important tip. Oh, yeah. Call in advance. Call everyone that you're delivering to in advance. Do not assume anyone's going to be home, because there's no time that everyone is home. And like, I have to keep reminding myself, like, the two poles aren't like work and home. Other people will do things. And like, I don't know, yeah, be flexible, but also within that, like, respect your own boundaries. If you're like, no, I'm not going to drive to, you know, Florissant when I thought you lived, you know, in like South City. But people have been like, hey, I'm actually not at home, but could you drop this off like at my aunt's house? And I'm like, yeah, just send me her address and like her phone number. Yeah, be super clear. If someone directs you somewhere else, ask for like a point of contact. Oh yeah, double the amount of time you think you'll need, so like active driving versus doing the whole thing. Don't remove your mask once you put it on. I feel like I see people do that a lot. I mean, I don't know what they're up to, but like masks like hanging on people's like rearview mirror, and it's like, wait, but like just every time you touch it, you're like, you know, introducing like greater risk, because your hands have been doing other things, and you may be touching the outside of your mask and then touching your face, or, you know, we don't know how this travels, so like just err on the side of caution. Like, yeah, use a KN95 mask if you can find one. Like, it makes it a lot easier to not take it on and off, because it's a lot cooler. And the city and county health departments have been doing drives where they give them out, so if you kind of like keep your ear to the ground about that, you can like sometimes swoop in. Like, you know, the protests, March has had like KN95 masks that they've been willing to hand out. I know people have like other things going on, but like also try to make deliveries during the coolest part of the day. That'll make sort of all of this a lot easier. And just like check, you know, the like weather app on your phone or whatever to do that. Cause wow, is it really death to make deliveries at like 5 p.m. Yeah, don't assume that people can carry boxes by themselves, but also if you can't, be clear about that too. You know, there are other people around, and you know, y'all can work it out, but you know, you know, respect both your boundaries. But I feel like a lot of the boxes that I get are really heavy, and I'm always like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, do you need help? And someone will be like, no, I'm good. And then I'll hand it to them and they'll be like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, I can take it. Yeah, I just sort of like overestimate a lot of things. Like, you know, people live up flights of stairs, and like boxes are just heavier than you think. Kendra's super strong, so if she's moving boxes to your car, you're gonna think, oh, this is super doable, and then it's like, no. Yeah, so just always be as willing as you are capable of helping. Yeah, engage like people's neighbors, carry like flyers for mutual aid, or like have the hotline number like ready on hand to give out. Like it's like a really, yeah, for me, like a really fulfilling way of like meeting people and like expanding the network. It's just like, hey, like, I know this looks like, you know, strange or whatever, to see your neighbor getting like, you know, free groceries delivered to their door. Like, like this could be you, you know, like, or like, are you interested in making deliveries, or, you know, like becoming more like, yeah, connected to like the people that you live by, like meeting your neighbors, you know, like, come join, and like extend that like invitation and like sort of graciousness to people that you're delivering to as well. Like, you know, it's so great to meet you. Like, thank you for letting me into your home. I hope you like enjoy this food. If any other needs arise for you, please feel free to reach out. If you know anyone else that is like in need or has like things they can offer, like also feel free to reach out. We want to continue like building and getting to know you. Building with you and getting to know you.
There was a question.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a question that Mary asked. What do you do if the people you are delivering to don't wear masks?
I ask them to put on a mask. That's like a pretty difficult, like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's like become important to me. Just in like, yeah, and respecting my own boundaries and knowing like, it makes me a lot more comfortable. And, you know, if they say no, I don't like cease the interaction immediately and like run off. But I think it's like a discomfort that's worth, you know, instigating or whatever. And I usually have disposable like surgical masks in my car. So if someone says like I don't have one, then I hand them a couple because they're single use. And I always really try to stress that. Don't use it again. It's as good as not wearing a mask. But yeah, good question.
I think also to remind people that we, like when you call and say, like I do the 3 call, right? Call, I'm on my way. Call, I'm outside. Please do not come outside, right? I'm putting this at your door. Not unless like to the point that someone needs help or they won't be able to carry it in, then, you know, that's something different. But for the most part, I know for myself, I just ask them to like, don't come to the door. You know, I see you, I'll leave it here, and then I will wait for you to come out when I'm in my car. Just
for sure. Yeah, and that's like also a great example of like that's what works better for you, and like hadn't really occurred to me. So it's like, you know, none of us are doing this identically. And it also depends on like the nature of the thing. Like if I'm delivering like dairy, I'm like, okay, come outside. I need to see this in your hands. But it's like if I'm delivering clothes and they feel comfortable leaving it outside, then I'm like, it's fine if you're at work. Yeah, like create something to look forward to at the end of it. Yeah, I really feel like I usually do like at least 4 deliveries. Like I like the feeling of like doing something like in batches. And so by the end of it, I am absolutely assed out. And so I like take a bath and I set my laptop on our like bathroom trash can and I like drink a cold LaCroix. And so like making deliveries is always also punctuated by like, oh my God, like what a like pleasurable experience at the end, no matter how deeply frustrating it can be in the middle. And those are all my tips.
Yay! So thank you so much, Sarah. Just a couple of things to look forward to before we get wrapped up is that we're going to be partnering with New Roots Urban Farms to have pod volunteer days. So you can cultivate your own food. So it will be part of our second delivery day on Tuesday. We're cultivating our own food with them on Saturdays, starting in about 2 weeks. And so I'll be contacting pod leaders through pod leader email. And it's a really good opportunity to kind of, cross-pollinate with the pods and have like a team building experience with different people. And all supplies will be provided. So like gloves, we're getting a donation for like the gloves and for the baggies and all that jazz. So super excited about that. And then what supplies are currently being bulk sourced and how can our pods access them? So we are currently setting up trying to set up pods in the north and the south. So Emmeline is in the north, and basically we have space in two different churches that we're going to be bulk sourcing items from. So we are currently looking at bulk sourcing all kinds of stuff from cereal. We have a pod, like a list that we made maybe a month and some change ago. It has bleach on it, bleach, Lysol, toilet paper, basically all that stuff. So that's what we're looking at bulk sourcing. We're not bulk sourcing yet, but we do have deadlines for bulk sourcing because the people that we're getting our produce from is running out, their grant runs out in the end of August. Which is Hosco Foods from Gibran. And then the place that we're partnered with for our non-perishables, so the weekly drops to about 60 people, give or take. I guess those are from a different entity, so our non-perishables. And those will run out potentially also end of August, middle of September. So we need to have a bulk sourcing options by then. And so, yeah. So basically, I can send you a photo of what we always have. We always have stuff in that you could pick up at any time, but we aren't bulk sourcing anything. As soon as we are, you'll have a key and a location that you can go to anytime, or maybe not a key, depending on what they'll be open, but hopefully we'll have a few people with a key that can go in and out at any time so that you can go just shopping there. And then we'll be hopefully having a team that is inventorying and buying weekly or every other week. So that's kind of the long term. Any questions for me or Sarah?
I have to go back to work, so I'm going to hop off. But thank you all for whatevering and listening. And not to assume you were listening. Yeah, I'll look at the notes and hopefully be actually present for the entirety of the meeting next week.
Yay, love you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sarah.
Bye, everyone.
I have a question, and I think maybe it's for everybody. So we have all these mini pantries in Maplewood, Richmond Heights, where, people can just leave things and take things as they want. And we got this amazing monthly donation for supplementing that. So mostly it's neighbors that are keeping them full, but we want to make sure that we can supplement it, and we got this great donation. So what we're looking for are a lot very small sized things, and a lot of things that have a pop top or something that's easy to open. And we're trying to find the best way and place to buy these. So originally we went to the Dollar Tree and Target and ordered a lot at Target. And then I contacted a business here in Maplewood who they own that chocolate store that I forgot the name of, and they own also this very small bougie grocery store. And they said that they would be happy to help us purchase in bulk, because I know restaurants and some food stores have memberships to Restaurant Depot and things like that. But what I'm afraid of is it's going to be like Costco, where you can buy things, but it's going to be in huge portions, and what we need is small portions. So I'm wondering if anybody else has ideas as to where we can buy these things, like because when we go to Family Dollar, we will buy everything they have. It's kind of embarrassing. And if they tell us, that would be best.
So Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, if you just go to their website,
you can order and they can ship it to you, or you can pick it up from their store.
I've never gotten things picked up directly from there, but they will. You can get delivered to you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. If you're buying in bulk, why not go cheaper? Like, so if you buy in bulk, you could go to a independent grocery store like an IGA, or like if you can do privately owned grocery stores and talk to the owner.
So that's what we did.
Yeah,
but he was talking about like Restaurant Depot, and I just wasn't sure that
you can't do Restaurant Depot. It's massive. Yeah,
Restaurant Depot, you'll get like restaurant size, and you need to get a pump and then the containers and sterilization.
It's a pain in the butt. It's not worth it.
So what are the different companies that they would have other like memberships at that would do the small quantity?
I would go to like a Schnucks and talk to the manager. I'd go to the grocery stores, because the grocery stores will have the kind of things that you want. I'd figure out what you can even talk to Schnucks Foundation if you're willing to source a corporate, if you're willing to do a corporate ask.
Okay.
I'd do that, but you do you. Yeah. But you probably could get like free stuff from them.
Yeah.
Long term, what about Marsh Co-op or Costco?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't tried.
So Costco's Union, you might be able to go through them. You can order their stuff online too. The thing about so Costco, you can order online. You'll probably get a better outcome online than you would actually showing up. So I think Emmeline went face to face one time and they shut her down as far as buying multiple things of toilet paper or something.
I did get a corporate contact, which I shared with Kendra, so she may reach out.
So yeah, and they're union, so they're for the people. Yeah, Dollar Tree does the same thing too. They're also because when I used to do the stuff for the churches, for the homeless stuff, it was easy. Also, I forgot hotels, because not a lot of people are going in them, and they all got Dollar Tree shit.
Yeah. Do you know if like those are like Dollar Tree is independently owned? They're all owned by the same, like they're all corporately owned. Is that right?
I thought they're franchises, but I'm not sure.
Are they franchises?
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Because if they're franchises, you could talk to the manager or like whoever the person is, or the district person, and you could probably buy in bulk for cost. So
are we talking about?
There's a markup. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, I was supposed to say Dollar Tree. They're not franchises.
Oh, okay. What about Big Lots? I mean, I love my Big Lots. It's across the street. Maybe Big Lots or Ross. I'm not sure.
So I have somebody that I can connect you with that we might do purchasing with that. But I just need to make sure I run down it first to see if we're going to partner with them. But yeah, I can send them your way if we are. Or either way, I just need to talk to them first.
Have we tried pursuing a relationship with Local Harvest at all?
No.
Okay.
But we're not yet.
Thank you to everyone.
Yay, thank you, Tessa. Any other?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you need help, and how can we direct people in our pods towards you?
Yes, we need help. I'm getting together a volunteer schedule because that's been one thing that's been difficult. Basically, there's around 30 to 35 people that have been doing driving and or moving stuff. But yeah, we can always use help. One thing I'm going to do to make it more accessible is to send around a list that is just like a volunteer sign up list, because it will make it easier for people to just plug into a time slots that they want to and then quickly plug in. So yeah, I'm going to be sending that around to the pod leader email this week. And yeah, basically the answer is always yes for driving or help or anything. So there's always things like moving. We've done like massive pickups like 3 days last week. And yeah, it's a lot, but it's really cool to see so many people moving stuff. We also have the opportunity to provide gas cards now. So that means that people that, one thing I'm talking about, like making sure that we're not replicating systems of oppression is like saviorism. We don't want it to be, all white people delivering, and like we want to make sure that we are being really mindful about the way that we're approaching that work. So we're able to offer now gas cards and are really being intentional about all that stuff. So.
Cool. And is the schedule set in terms of like big food deliveries, or does it kind of change every week? Just figuring out how to talk to the pod.
Yeah, it's set. So Tuesdays are at 1 p.m. Thursdays are at 10 a.m. and Sundays are at 12 p.m. So Sundays are furniture distribution. Tuesdays and Thursdays are food distribution. And then every other day of the week is just like a random, like urgent food, or I'll probably do those at like 5 p.m. like pickups. But yeah, there's always something going out. So Thursday is the biggest day. Are the biggest days.
Sorry, can you say the schedule again? And then is that time correlates to when people come and get stuff from you and then they go out? That's like everyone meets and then disperses time?
Yeah.
Okay.
If people can come at like 3 o'clock but can't come at 1 o'clock, that's still okay, because I'll usually still have, like, if somebody knows they'll be available at 3, you can put it in cold space, like their food stuff. So yeah, the Tuesdays we do it at 1 p.m. Thursdays we do it at 10 a.m. and then Sundays we do it at, which is furniture Sundays, is at 12 p.m. So that happens every single week. And then there is also, there is also a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but that's something else and have specific drivers for that. So that's fresh food, like prepared food. So there is a process. This is such a there, but if you need anybody that on the weekly food or on prepared food, make sure you check the box in Airtable. That box we call them every single week on. We do 2 calls a week. So we do one on Monday, and if they miss it, then we do the second one on Wednesday. And so if they need food that week, they just say yes, and then we bring them food. It's that simple. So and we bring them really whatever we have. We'll bring them perishables. We get food boxes every week. Like the fresh food boxes, and then we also have the non-perishable boxes. So yeah.
Sorry, there's a question from Mary, which she asked. She said she's a little confused. Are we talking about food for pods or food to be delivered directly to people?
What pod are you in, Mary?
I'm in Maplewood, and this is only my second meeting, but I just wanted to know, like, when you're talking, I know you deliver to people. I heard all about those tips. Those sounded great. But when you're talking about these Tuesday, Thursdays, is that for pods to come and get food to stock their pantries, or what is it?
Yeah, so it's so basically operations is pod support. So the reason why we exist is kind of to share resources across a pod. So we're sourcing and like collecting different food stuff, and we source food across the platform basically. So Maplewood really runs basically independently, but a lot of other pods have, a lot of different resources, and some of them have abundance of certain resources and, lack of other resources. So in order to share resources across St. Louis, operations does, and make sure that everyone has like fresh food. We do the Tuesday and Thursday food drops for people, yeah. And so pods, everyone from on the op and the delivery team, they're actually from everywhere in St. Louis too. So we have people from North County, we have people from South County. It's really cool. It's like Dutchtown is very represented. And so yeah, it's for people, but it supports pods, and it also supports pods. So Emmeline, for example, is a lead of her own pod. I call Emmeline every week and say, how many boxes do you need this week? I call Erica every week and say, how many boxes do you need this week of perishable and non-perishable? Because they self-distribute. So I can do it that way as well. It's really whatever the needs of the pod are.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of bulk sourcing, Kendra, what's the funding look like for that?
Yeah, so we put together a budget. In fact, we proposed a budget at the last meeting this last weekend. And I think we put 3,000 that we'd like to have 3,000 a month for bulk sourcing in the beginning. We might need more out of the gate. I'm thinking we might need about 5,000 just to like get it started minimum, but I really have to get more costs to determine what that looks like long term, but we will need a monthly budget. But we've proposed about a monthly budget around $8,000 to $10,000 for operations ongoingly, and so we're hoping to start that budget on August 1st, and we'll be discussing it at the next I don't know what we're calling them, strategic planning meetings in 2 weeks. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but yeah. So I know everyone on here is invited to those. So so yeah, I'm happy to run through it if you want to talk about it offline too.
Yeah, great.
Anyone?
Well, just 5 more minutes left. If anybody has any additional questions, comments, statements.
This might be a question that I should ask offline based on the answer, but are the like weekly pod-wide or like mutual aid organization-wide request emails still going out?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I'm not on that. Like, this is why I'll talk to you later.
No. It's there was a technical difficulty with the new ops account. There's a new ops email, and so it looks like that it's like parsing things to from certain people. So I think I'm gonna have to resend it from my personal email again, because it's like 3 people have contacted me this week being like, "Why I haven't gotten an email in a couple weeks?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, it's been over a month."
Yeah, I went to check it, and I'm like, "Oh crap! No wonder nobody."
Cool.
So it's been parsing off like more than half the list. So I send them from my this week. It will go from my personal email, and then I'll try to figure out logistically, like, because we have an ops account, so we're trying to use that so that more people can respond. Yeah, I'm going to be sending it from my personal email this week, so that actually goes to everyone else. Yeah.
And then just as a clarifying question, as a pod lead, is that email intended to go only to pod leads or to like anyone that has ever expressed interest in offering support?
That weekly email?
Yeah.
It goes to everyone that's ever been interested in offering support. It's like 300 people. Yeah.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to make sure if I should be forwarding it to my pod or if those people are
forward it to anyone. Yeah. It doesn't contain personal information. It's just like, needs. So no worries. Share it with anyone, even outside of our network. Yeah.
So I had kind of a follow-up question about the weekly, I guess, dual weekly food access and stuff like that. So West County just does not, you would think, contrary to what people believe about West County, they are not stepping up to provide stuff to people. So almost all of the requests that have come through West County are coming in as a request for support rather than for people offering support. So for the last couple months, it's basically been me supporting the requests that have come in, which is fine because I signed on to offer support in mutual aid. So I've just been kind of putting my support over in West County and not responding to the broader support or the support within my neighborhood. So the question I had is, how is it just a matter of clicking something on Airtable to possibly tap into those resources? And is there any way to show real quickly what on Airtable would be? We don't get a lot in, like I'm doing like 3 drops this week that have accumulated over the course of the last few weeks. So it's not like stuff that's coming in every week, but it's getting to the point where as much as I'd love to continue funding it, I just don't know if I can continue funding it solely. And we just have not had people come in through West County to rally. The last outreach I did yielded only one person saying that they would be able to offer support. So I'm just curious as to how I can maybe tap into the broader resources for a little bit while West County's still attempting to build.
Yeah. Also, I have a pantry. You can come by and shop on my porch like anytime. Just FYI, if you're right, West County's right next to me. So yeah, that's an offer that is open to anyone. I think I've made it to any pod leader, haven't, but yeah. So if you go to Airtable really quick and scroll down all the way down, it's in the main member record. You just click a button and it says, I just want to make sure I'm telling you what it says correctly, regular food delivery. You just check that box on regular food delivery. And if you check that box, it will be on my weekly food list. And so we'll call them, that means that we call them weekly. That doesn't mean that they'll get food weekly. They'll get food whenever they need food.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just been as the requests come in. So like I was hoping to try and get some support just because we had accumulated some requests over the last few weeks, and I knew it was going to be a little bit more from a budget perspective than I had kind of set aside. But so, okay, I'm in Airtable, and what am I looking for? I'm in like the mutual aid network. So I'm looking for where on here? Is it with a specific person or?
Kendra, you're muted.
So you have to click expand record.
Okay.
Record. Okay, and then you scroll basically all the way down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right before the bottom, and it's regular food delivery checkbox. Do you see that?
I'm not seeing let's see.
Well, almost all the way to the bottom and then a little bit up. Yeah.
I had to expand it. Okay, I see it now. So that just means they'll get a call every week.
Yeah.
I mean, and is there any way,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, is there any way to, like, it doesn't have to be like a request comes in and it's like, I can, they just need it for that moment where the request comes in. And is there any way I can just say, hey, I've got 3 people that need support. Can I pick up 3 boxes and do the drops or something like that, rather than putting them to be called every week?
No problem. Yeah, if you'd rather us call you directly and just say how many boxes do you need each week and you distribute to your community, that's completely fine as well. So just on our list to call every week and you'll tell me how many you need. It's no problem.
Yeah, the drops for me aren't that big of a deal. It's more the sourcing and dropping that is a big ask that's been happening. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that anybody else, if you would like to do these, distribute them, that's actually preferred. If you would like to just distribute them yourself and have them dropped to you, we're happy to do that. So let us know.
So on that note, we are now at time, a little bit over. Kendra, thank you so much for all that you shared and gave in this moment. Definitely, as a reminder to everyone, right? So like we're all in this together. This is a labor of love, right? So that means that even when it's labor us, it's not free, right? As far as free of energy. So let's be clear that, as people ask from us, let's ask from each other and see how we can support one another, right? And to what Kendra said, there's different ways and opportunities to be supported, but we won't know unless you ask. So closed mouths don't get fed, right? So anyway, I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful rest of the day. I am going to